CRM was supposed to improve customer relationships. Instead, it's shorthand for can't resolve much. Which means you may have sunk a fortune into software that just bounces customer issues around but never actually solves them. On the ServiceNow AI platform, CRM stands for something better. With AI built into one platform, customers aren't mired in endless loops of automated indifference. They get what they need, when they need it. Bad CRM was then. This is ServiceNow.
Hi, I'm Christy Honeycutt. I'm your host for Inside the C-Suite, where execs get real about leadership, impact, and what it truly makes to make high-stake decisions. I'm so fangirling and honored today to have in our show Stacey Cohen. She is the CEO of Co-Communications. She's also, I'm going to look over here because her accolades are out of this world, guys. She's a best-selling author of Brand X. She does a lot of branding books. I'm in this one. You guys got to get it. It's so great. She's also a TEDx professor and adjunct professor, a Wonder Twin. I'll let her explain that in a minute. She's been a Forbes Award recipient. You might have seen her on USA Today, Forbes, Newsweek, many more. I could go on for days about this woman. Stacey, welcome to the show, and thank you for blessing us with your presence.
And Christy, thank you so much for having me and also for your amazing, amazing quote in the book. Thank you for your brilliance that you bring to the show and just life.
I love that. You know, it's so funny, Stacey, because I think it was either you or a member of your team. It was about 2 years ago that you reached out and saw a quote that I had written and asked if you could use it. I was so honored. I'm like, of course. And I gave you my address and I'm sitting in my office. I go to the mailbox and I open up a package and it was this, and I'm in it. And it was the coolest thing ever. It was such a great day. And it's my favorite color. But so I'm impressed. I'm totally fangirling. And guys, look, this book, seriously, not to like plug her a million times, but if you're navigating a career right now, and most of us in HR have, it's been held the past 5 years, get the book. If you're brand new, get the book. Just get the book. There's like lots and lots. I think you have like over 50 really nice professional folks with some great advice and quotes in there. It was, I tagged it on social media because it was just amazing the people you pulled in.
Again, I have a certain expertise, but I wanted to hear from, thought leaders like yourself and others, and for them to weigh in on what really made candidates stand out during either it's the hiring process or career advancement.
So Stacey, as a CEO and co-founder of Co-Communications, tell us a little bit about your organization and what you guys do.
Sure. So we are a full service public relations marketing agency. And we, again, full service, meaning building websites, feeding annual reports, digital ads, public relations, social media, and everything in between. And our client base is we do a lot of healthcare, real estate, education, nonprofit, professional services, some hospitality and economic development. And again, been running the biz for 25 years.
So I know that you had a kind of a aha moment at the age of 14, and it might have like lightened your fire for being an entrepreneur. Can you share that with us?
Sure. So I come from very entrepreneurial parents. Both my mom and dad created businesses. And I remember sitting around the dinner table rather than talking about the neighbors, new car. It was about my father showing us the logo on a pen for his new company. What do you think? And so when I was 14, what did we do when we were 14, right? Chrissy, we babysat. So I came up with the idea with my friend Jennifer that we wanted to make more money. And again, babysitting was, a few dollars pretty much for very hard work. So we came up with the idea where I was living at the time. There were a lot of house parties. So we decided to be home waitresses, right, at age 14. And we put an ad in the local penny saver. I even remember the headline. It was like, "We set, serve, and clean up." So we went to a secondhand thrift store. We got these white, like nurses' uniforms, and we started to get calls. And then once we were at the actual house, we got so many jobs because think about yourself when you're entertaining, like 10 to 15 people, having someone there to help, throw the dishes in the dishwasher and set and serve and clean up. So we were booked for months out. And we increased our earnings by, I don't know, 500%. Seriously, it was a really nice business. And it was a great learning experience.
You made me think of when I was in sixth or seventh grade, there was these looms that you would make pot holders with. And I was in home ec and I grabbed the looms and looped them together and made a bracelet. And everyone was like, "Those are so cool." So people started buying bracelets from me. I'm like, I'm a little entrepreneur, right? In sixth, seventh grade. But my biggest learning lesson from that was I wanted to share that knowledge with everybody. So then I diluted my own market, taught them how to do it. They didn't need me anymore. So that was my very first lesson of entrepreneurship.
I love that. Well, you know what? It's like maybe then, it's like I think within all of us, if you're born an entrepreneur, and you know the term, I'm sure, serial entrepreneur, I don't doubt that has lived with you throughout your life. And you're always coming up with the next idea. And it's just this intrinsic drive that you have as an entrepreneur.
You and I spoke a little bit about this, but I feel like entrepreneurs and CEOs and founders, and I talk to a lot of them, and I love all of you guys. There's just so much crazy and creativity. Your brain doesn't shut off, right? And it's just this constant like building. How do I make it better? How do I improve it? How do I get to it? And it's contagious when you're you surround yourself with the right people, the right vibe, like how you can rise together. But I love your story about being 14.
It is. And if you think about it, entrepreneurship is, there's a misconception because it's not just about launching a business.
Yep.
You and I both know that it also lives within the walls of a company, right? Or it should, right? It should be part of a corporate environment.
And our CEO, the organization I work for now, he's really big on open mindsets, right? Versus closed mindsets. And I think that's the identifier. Either you see it or you don't. It's in here or it's not, kind of a thing.
Yeah. And I love that you said that because both in this book and the first book, which was for high school students, I have a full section on growth versus fixed mindsets and how important it is for everyone. Yes, entrepreneurs do have a growth mindset, but for everyone to have a growth mindset, which is really having a can-do attitude.
You know what I love about your book is that you empower people to do it for themselves, because I think regardless what organization you're at, because a lot of our listeners and followers are within HR and TA, is that you give people the tools to do it. And we create so many great things in our organizations. We bring speakers in, we do new benefits and things like that. But at the end of the day, you can create mentor and coaching relationships in your organization. But if the people aren't bought in and they don't want to grow, you're doing it for, you're doing it for nothing. So what I like about your book is that it's applicable to everybody, right? If you're a doer and you want to do better, then your guide's right in here, which is fantastic. And I love the graphics, and it's just so fun. It's very like workbookish. So what's the passion? Because you have a clear passion for helping people, high school students, and then this brand up for early career. Like, where does that come from?
There is no doubt that it comes from being a twin. There is no doubt. And, it's interesting because and I was sharing this with you, one of the highlights of my career was doing a TEDx talk in 2018 about personal branding and the importance of standing out, whether it be for college admissions or in this ultra competitive, AI driven job market.
Right.
And so growing up as a twin, and I don't know if you know any twins, but growing up as a twin.
I do. I dated triplets. Yeah.
Triplets.
No.
Oh.
I dated one triplet.
Well, we'll have to talk about that another time. I'm curious if there were any switches.
With me, no. I
Okay.
knew better. But with others, yes.
I love it. But if you're thinking about it, growing up as a twin, it was hard because we were constantly compared.
Oh,
Insensitive
yeah.
remarks like, why does your sister get better grades than you? And then even, sharing a birthday, like getting the same birthday presents, or sometimes even getting just one present for both of us, and even having an aunt that we weren't known by our names. It was just like, oh, are the twins coming? So it was, again, I was driven, um, really driven to carve out my own identity, which
Right.
led me to help others shape their uniqueness and for them to stand out. And it's hard work. It's really hard work, but it pays off. And to me, the biggest compliment that you could give me is to say to me, Stacey, you are so unique and memorable. Because again, I echo back to being a twin. It's like we were often considered one person.
Thank you for sharing that because I think, and I'm gonna call myself out. I'm not gonna call anybody else out, but I think most people think that is the coolest thing in the world to be a twin. And, I grew up, there was a foster home next to our home when I grew up as a child. And I used to play with, I had a plethora of children to play with. And it was sad because they would come and go. But there was these two little girls that I loved very, very much. And they were identical twins. And it was really, even as their friend, it was hard to tell them apart. But I just remember thinking it was so cool to have two beautiful people. It was like having two. And, but I never thought about what that might be like or feel like for a twin. So, thank you for like tapping my empathy this morning because yeah, I never thought about that. That's like a form of, it's a form of bias, I guess. And, not intentional, but it is a form of bias. So I still think twins are cool. And I do think that you stand out. So there's that. But I'm really grateful that you shared that because that was a aha for me.
Yeah. And yeah, a lot of people don't realize that, right?
Yeah.
A lot of people don't realize it. And I think what typically happens with twins, it's called the seesaw effect. And, we don't have to spend that much time on twins, but it's like either, you'll see twins that end up like marrying twin brothers and they go to the same college and they're roommates and they're inseparable. And then you'll see twins as my sister and I grew up, where we found our own things that we excelled at.
That's very fascinating. I love it. It's incredible. To all my twins out there, I see you. That's
I see
amazing.
you too.
And you're unique and beautiful in your own way. No, I'm really, really glad that you brought that up because, look, we navigate a really crazy world right now, right? And I think the more we share and learn from one another, the better our community will be and rise. So I know that you have some really special things that just are in your heart. Branding's one of them. And when it comes to branding, personal branding, and I want to share a little something with you because I think we've all come up differently. I came up, you know, I'm 50, guys. I'm 50. I came up and it was hard, right? Because you were told, yeah, don't get on social media because, you work for the company and it needs to be, you need to draw the line. So I got some really bad advice early on in my career, seeing where the world's progressed, right? Um, I'm just curious because I think that there might be a lot of people might go through this of, I need to look a certain way. I need to talk a certain way. Even when I worked at a very well-known organization, I had a former mentor and boss of mine say, why do you wear high heels all the time? And why are you always in a suit? I said, we work for the same company. What do you mean, why? Like, and she goes, F that. I go, what? And she goes, F that. And I was like, oh, okay. But you know what? She was right. And I stopped wearing heels and I stopped wearing the suits and realized it had nothing to do with it does have a way with how you present yourself. But I wanted to present myself more authentically. So as I've gotten older and embraced my quirks and know that I still have a skill set and that I'm of value, it's, it's crazy the peace that brought. And I don't feel so chained. But I'm curious if you've, had that interaction with other people, if they've had similar experiences, because your personal brand's really important because people want to work with people they like,
Yes.
right? Then you have corporations saying, no, toe the line, look this way, don't do this. So what's your guidance? Like talk us through that.
Well, first of all, I love what you just said about embracing your quirks, right? Because I also love vulnerability. And look, we're all human. And
Yeah.
there is a big misconception about personal branding. And, and it was really difficult when I named both books like Brand Up. And I got some pushback from a literary agent, some publishers, because personal branding has like a bad rap. A lot of people are like, well, I don't want to be Kim Kardashian, but people have to understand personal branding. It's not this narcissistic thing. It's not this me, me, me. It's like, what is the value that you bring to others? And, you know, again, I, at the same point, it's not about being someone you're not. It's really being very reflective. I think, part of the personal branding process or branding process, because it doesn't matter. Look, as a marketer, it doesn't matter if I'm marketing a product, service, or a person, right? The first step is always discovery, being self-reflective. What is, what is my superpower? What is my value? We all need to be able to answer what I always call the $1,000,000 question. Why should someone choose you? How are you going to get to the top of a decision maker's list? Because you know what? If we can't define our value, how will others?
Oh,
So,
so good.
right? So it's again, there's a big misconception. Like, you've got to be you. I've spoken to so many people in HR and college admissions for the first book that say they can smell a phony a mile away. So you've got to be you. Show me your human side. I like what you also said. People want to do business. They want to advance people. They want to hire people that are likable. They're not looking for a robot. You can have all of the technical skills, but you need to bring that human side. None of us are perfect. And here's the thing. I really believe that those people that have good brands, you know, understand their superpower, right? Their value to others. They they are it's just so powerful to build career equity. So I almost look at it as it's almost like a long-term career insurance policy because it's what is giving you I know this is marketing jargon, but what is
I
giving you
love it.
your competitive edge?
Yeah.
And this is an important investment.
Well, it's applicable, Stacey, in every aspect of your life.
Every aspect, right? Because it doesn't matter. It's applicable if if you're a founder of a business, doing a job search, wanting to grow in your company, and yes, even dating, right?
Oh, yes.
Right?
You'll have to buy the book to find out about the triplets, but yes. I'm done.
I cannot wait.
So I love what you're saying about that and like understanding your value, right? And then what guidance would you have for a founder or a CEO or someone looking to aspire? What guidance would you have for them to ask themselves that $1,000,000 question and to actually be able to come up with it? Is there like for me, what I used to tell people when they were curious in their career and they didn't know which way to go, I'd always say, what is it that everyone comes to you for? Right? Because whatever that is that you think is easy, that you think isn't valuable, is actually your differentiator. So I'm just curious what your guidance is on that.
Right. And it's really quite simple. So part of it is again being self-reflective. Like again, defining who you are, what are your talents, what are your strengths, but then also is equally as important as understanding you. Ask your peers, your friends, your family. Like, you could do an exercise like the 5 adjectives that you feel best describe yourself, but then ask that of your peers because you want to get the 360-degree view. See where that intersects. And most often people are surprised about what they hear. But you also do need to look at the competition and how are they putting themselves out there and how can you put your stake in the ground differently? And, that's really important. But I also think more than ever, and you'll get this, to me, search is like really important. So I always tell, um, again, so many applications, your digital footprint, is it telling the right story, right? Because if you don't have presence, it's a red flag. And when you're interviewing for a job, when you're pitching a new business, people are going to search you. As a matter of fact, there's 5.9 million Google searches a minute.
5.9 million Google searches a
Yes.
minute.
And here's something
Wow.
even surprising that, and I think it's going to go down, not up. And I'll tell you why. Last year, I'm a geek when it comes to numbers. Last year it was 6.3 million. So I was like,
Okay.
wow, why was there a decrease? Because year after year, it's been going up. And this is through Domo, data never sleeps. And I was like, I know why, because people are searching through ChatGPT, right? So that's becoming like the new search engine. So whether it's Google and you can easily put on a free Google alert for your name, but you're going to have to start looking at both and see what comes up. And so we all need to take control over page one of a Google search.
So
Really
I
important.
love that practical, tactical guidance. And another aha, this is why I do these. It's a masterclass for me. I just hope other people enjoy it. But the other aha for me is that I've been recruiting for a long time. I work for a startup company that sells recruitment automation. And I know in order to stay on top of what's going on in the market, I have Google alerts for manufacturing, retail, right? So I read up on all of that stuff every morning. I never thought to do one on myself.
Absolutely. And there's also a lot of other tools. There's something called
Yeah.
critical mention but Google Alerts is free. And I have to tell you, it's really important. And I know, putting on the other hat as an employer, I have looked at countless resumes. But what we all do is we'll also do a search of the person. We'll see how do they show up on social media. Someone could look great on paper, and then once we've looked at their social media channels or page one, if there's a negative result, they're not going to get the job.
That's huge. And I'd like to say that employers don't do that, guys, but we all know they do. And as we get more into the future and the technology, it's just getting worse. So I'm curious because AI is a very large part of our world and then searching chatbot GPT, again, AHA did that yesterday to ask about like the best restaurants in a certain area. And it was really helpful, right? It was the way it comes back is super helpful. But I'm just curious, like, with AI and branding and people kind of, and I'm guilty. I go buy all the latest AI stuff and play with it, make artwork and make myself a baby and all the things that you do that's fun and entertaining. But I'm just curious because I've heard a lot of recruiters say, it's all the resumes look the same. Right. And now they're starting to figure out, like, do you have AI for AI to say, hey, this is actually an AI written thing? So how is that impacting your world and the branding? Like, what are you seeing with the use of AI that is good and bad, maybe?
That is also a $1 billion question. I believe you need to use AI as a co-pilot, right? I mean, I'm not here to say it's not going to take over any roles, and especially, like with marketing or branding, like I could generate a press release, and it would be a good one if I put in a really good prompt within seconds. And then I could go back in and let's just say that I was focusing on a particular trade like parking technology. Please provide me with a media list for parking technology. Boom, right? It is not distributing yet, but to me, there's nothing that will take the place of relationship building. There's nothing that will take the place. And I also think that it's really, again, you're in the HR world 24/7.
Yeah.
I get a lot of young professionals because of the book coming to me and they'll say, Stacey, and they're so defeated. Stacey, I'm
Oh,
so
yeah.
frustrated. I've sent out 100 resumes. I haven't gotten one response. And I'll say, okay, take a breath and listen to me. The spray and pray method does not work, right? And it's like, so I'd rather see quality over quantity. And we all know in this world, and I tell my 20-something-year-old girls who are very smart, you're both really smart, but in this world, it's not what you know, it's who you know. So again, building that network, but again, not a transactional network. It has to be something where you're adding value. It's a two-way exchange, building those relationships. That is more likely to get you a job than a resume, no matter how carefully curated. And you and I both know it's very difficult to get past that ATS AI filter to be seen by a human. So the only way to really rise to the top is to somehow figure out the the human connection within that company.
It's definitely your ace in the hole. It's all about networking and relationships and going back to how are you showing up. So for the networking piece, and this is fortunately, a superpower of mine, I think, because I just want to help everybody. So if I talk to someone and something pops up like, oh, let me connect you with this person, or I think you would be great over here.
That's me also. That's exactly how I am.
Well, it's crazy, Stacey, because not everyone's natural at networking and they go to these things and I think there's pressure on them, whatever it is, like I have to make a sell or I'm supposed to come back with 10, whatever their underlying reason is for networking. I think they miss the opportunity to connect with another human that could be valuable in multiple ways and really miss on that opportunity because they're so focused on an outcome. So and I've seen the awkwardness. I've seen different events try it different ways to get people, to loosen up. Do you have any guidance for people out there doing this? Because it is comical to me to watch people try to navigate this. And it's not fair to say that because it's natural for me. But how can we help these guys? Because you want to help them.
First of all, I'm so much like you. And if you were to ask me, like, what is your superpower? And I've had it turned around on me. The first thing I would say is I'm a connector of people and ideas. And I get it. It's not in everybody's DNA. But I do think, I don't like to say practice makes perfect. I like to say practice makes progress. So even I encourage, like if you're not comfortable in a big room, start out small. Like even honestly, like you're in a Starbucks line, like just start talking to someone. I have met, and I'm sure you're the same, some of the most interesting people that I've developed friendships with, one on an elevator and one in a ladies' room at a conference. So but I also think, just to give a tip, be strategic, right? It's a little counterintuitive because you don't want to go in as, being a robot, but just it's like playing chess, have a game plan, see if you can find out who is going to be in the room, research them, right? Research them, find out a little bit about them. Is there a common thread that you can address? Truth of the matter is that a lot of these networking events, not all of them, there's always going to be people just like you, and everybody is in that room for the same reason. They want to connect. And again, when you connect, think about, like, how can you give before you take? How can you add value to that person? And I think that one of the biggest things is following up. And I'm guilty of this myself. I'll go to a conference and I'll have a stack of business cards. I think it's really important within 24 hours just to make sure that you reach out.
I saw an article or I read it in a book. If I'm sorry guys, I don't need to give credit to, but I read it. It was impactful. I did remember the lesson, but it said that when you post things specifically on LinkedIn, was the study, was to react to comments within the first hour. So if you're going to post something, great, get the gump, right? People are going to like it. They're going to see it. If you see somebody that mentions something, then go in and just start commenting with them and engaging. So I think and for me, I like to do it because I like to share knowledge and like share ideas and like, hey, yeah, that's awesome. But there's so many practical things that you can do. It's funny you talk about the networking thing. So I travel and speak at a lot of conferences, and I had 2 people reach out to me and say, hey, you were at this conference last year because I was on the speaker list. Are you going this year? I'm like, no, I'm not. But I know some people that are. Can I connect you? Would that be helpful? And I said, sure. And can I tell you how big my heart exploded when they texted me pictures sitting side by side, both new, C-suite individuals going to this thing for the first time, not really sure how to navigate. And now they've got their lunch buddy and they have a commonality. So it can be, and they're still talking. I think they're actually maybe doing business together. So it's beautiful when you see that happen.
I agree 100%. And you brought up LinkedIn. I think, LinkedIn again, and we know this, your audience knows this. LinkedIn is just such a powerful tool, but I don't feel that the majority are using it the right way. And that's also why I included a chapter in both books. Even I feel that by the age of 16, you should be on LinkedIn. So when you're going for the college admissions, you're connecting with the alumni. And let's say you want to go to engineering at Vanderbilt, you're connecting with the chair of the engineering department. It's that thoughtful thinking, and then engaging, liking their posts, again, building, cultivating that relationship. I think it's something, look, as a communications professional, communications works best when you have that constant drumbeat, right? You can't just turn on the volume and then walk away. So I think consistency in getting out there is really important. The same thing with networking. You can't just go to one event a year. You have to go to several, and even better to pick a networking, like some kind of organization where you'll be seeing the same people again and again and building those relationships.
This has been such an eye-opening. I mean, I've gotten so many ahas from you just talking. So again, I mean, these are mini masterclasses for myself. I will tell you, I did look through, outside of seeing where I was in your book, which was amazing. I did look through the LinkedIn chapter, and I've been on LinkedIn for a really long time, and I'm pretty savvy. And I have to say, I learned some things. So that's why I say your book is applicable to anybody, because if Stacey, if we look at the state of the job market over the past 5 years, right? All of the turmoil we've had from, belonging to COVID to work remotely or don't work remotely, pizza parties, whatever, all the crap. Regardless where you are, there's been a lot of people that's been impacted. Sales and marketing, big time, talent acquisition and HR, because AI can take everyone's jobs now. It's a moment in time. We've all been through this many, many times. But what I like is that this group has been hit so hard with their ego's been hit, and their ego doesn't need to be hit. Unfortunately, it's kind of where we are in this moment of time. And I think your book is really practical for anybody. So I endorse it.
Oh, I'm
100%.
So coming from you, I so appreciate that.
Oh, you're sweet. Well, so I have a final question that I want to ask you before we wrap up, because you're an inspiration to me and you're pouring your heart to help our community. And I really appreciate that. I'm like-minded and heart-minded as well. So if there are people out there that are making a difference, right? Maybe they're not showing up their brand, and maybe they're not taking that step into entrepreneurship. Maybe they're not seeing the signs that they should do this. Maybe they want to write a book. Please tell us, what are the top 3 things, your guidance from Miss Stacey Cohen? What are your guidance to help people kind of get to that next stage of clarity of what's next, of really walking in their purpose?
That is a great, great question. The first stuff is again, I have to go into the self-reflection stage and really get into your why and purpose. because that will give you the clarity. You know what I'm saying? So it's like, it's really the clarity. It's almost like part of the process. I always call it like 3D, three-dimensional. So the first one is discovery, going in. And then the second, again, it's a framework. The second is the development, right? Because you need to develop your assets. And if you think about it, the important thing is that no matter what you're doing, entrepreneur, you're launching a business, advancing in a job, um, changing careers, whatever it is, you need to understand, you need that clarity, and you need to develop your assets. This is the part that the development is like packaging yourself, right? Because it's like you have your value, you figured it out. How do you package yourself, your different assets? It could be anything from a LinkedIn profile. Maybe you want to develop your own website. And I always recommend everybody purchase their name URL if they can, because you never know what you'll do with it. Even thinking about an email signature line, right? That's like great real estate. What can you put in your email signature line? So again, that's the development, the packaging aspect, which is so important, because again, what we're talking about here, when you want to get from point A to point B, this is about growth, right? Also having the right mindset, like we spoke about before. There's a fixed mindset where it's like, oh, that's too hard. I would never be able to do that. Changing it into, I can, like, I got this. So I really think, like, I have a very spiritual side, positive affirmations, whatever you need, to do to make sure that, you need that curiosity, the grit to execute your ideas boldly, but also to bounce back from setbacks. And again, there's going to be challenges. There's going to be problems along the way until you get to that book, but be a problem solver, not a problem spotter. It's like, move on. Because again, growth is not a straight line, and you've got
Oh,
to be
no.
ready to reinvent. And there's going to be times along that journey to getting to point B, you're going to have to reinvent. And then the last part of the framework is delivery. That's when you're turning your value into visibility. And so I like to think of all of us like we're all like our own news channels,
Oh, I love that.
right? We're all our own
Yeah.
news channels. So it's like we need to figure out what are the right channels to reach the right audience. And also, again, and this is part of your quote in the book, but at the same time, there's a constant evaluation. Is there engagement on my LinkedIn? Maybe I'm not adding the right kind of value to my audience. Maybe it is not the right audience that I'm reaching out to. So again, there's always shifts. And again, just being agile, going with the flow. And I think one of the most important things is just believing it, that it just infiltrates like every cell in your body, and you manifest it.
You are so wise. So two things that you said. I had a dear friend of mine say, I borrowed faith that other people had in me until I had it in me. And I thought, wow. And I actually sent her a message the other day. I said, I'm borrowing the faith you have in me today. So sometimes I think you need a little cheerleader. And another thing, look, guys, if you're stuck, Stacey mentioned this earlier, but I'm just going to share because you and I are so connected. I brought my team together. It was a very, I merged teams, merged offices. It was really hard for everybody. And they were all used to working separately and not together, not collaboration. And what I did is there was a little bit of infighting, which is normal. Got them in a room. We pulled up a whiteboard, and one by one, I put a name on the whiteboard, and every person on the team went up and I said, I want you to write on the whiteboard a word that makes you think of this person. And they did. And at the end of this exercise, every single person went up and wanted a picture next to the whiteboard with the name, with the words. And the words were power words like empathetic, professional, caring, like But what was crazy, it was how their peers saw them. And when they realized that's how their peers saw them, it kind of like elevated them, but the team just started getting along so much better. And and I even saw a couple of them had framed that picture. And so it is powerful. And, look, we're navigating some interesting times, but you have some very practical, tactical advice that, again, is relevant for just about anybody. So, Stacey, thank you again for your time. And if you haven't heard lately, thank you from our community, because what you've provided is going to impact far and beyond yourself and this generation. It's going to hit the next. I know it in my heart. It's a good book. It's a good offering. And guys, go check Stacey out. Stacey, where can they connect with you?
Instagram, Stacey Ross Cohen. And you can also jump on the website, branduplife.com. And Christy, thank you for all that you bring to this community and beyond on a daily basis. Like you yourself have dropped so many gems. And what's great is like we all can learn from each other, and we all need to learn from each other.
100%. Well, big fan. Guys, go buy the book.